Hi friends, welcome to QApedia and this is our blog qapedia.com. Today the topic that we are going to discuss is Agile Model, SDLC models, Agile Model, and the subtopics that we will discuss today are Agile Model, disadvantages of V model, what is Agile Model, process which are involved in each release or sprint, example to understand Agile Model, points to remember, advantages of Agile Model, disadvantages of Agile Model, and when to use Agile Model. And then we will see summary of the session and then question for the session. So let's start. Agile Model. In the last session, we had discussed about V model, which is a better SDLC model as compared to waterfall model. But even V model has some disadvantages. And the disadvantages of V model are no requirement change. So once the requirement analysis phase is over, requirement cannot be changed in V model also until the first product launch, and the first product launch takes at least 3 to 4 months of time. Then time reduces a lot in V model as compared to waterfall model, but even this is not sufficient. So that's why a new type of model is needed, which is Agile model. Then documentation overload. So the V model requires a lots of documentation, which is time consuming and it results in documentation overload. Then limited flexibility unlike agile approaches. So the V model is not much flexible because you cannot change the requirement and it will take at least 3 to 4 months for new requirement to be added. So if any project where requirement change is needed or is allowed, we should use only agile development approaches. These are some disadvantages of V model. So because of all the above disadvantages, we need a better SDLC model, and agile model came into picture as a replacement for V model and waterfall model. What is agile model? So agile model is SDLC model, software development lifecycle model. Agile model is a combination of iterative and incremental process. Okay, so it is a combination of iterative and incremental process. Agile model works on rapid delivery of working software project. So, Agile model will deliver a working software project in a rapid manner. So it will deliver it very fast. Agile method breaks the product into small incremental builds. So there will be incremental builds which will increase the features in the project with every release. Now these builds are provided in iterations. So these builds are also called iteration. So this incremental build, we have also given them one more name, which is iteration. Each iteration is of 2 weeks generally, okay, and we call it sprint or release. So there are four names: build, iteration, sprint, or release. These four names are there for a build. Okay, we can call it build, we can call it iteration, we can call it sprint, or we can call it release. Now, in agile model, what happens? Cross-functional people work in the same team. That means developers, testers, managers, business analysts, design team, all works in the same team. All are a part of same team. We divide the task into small time frames in agile model. Task will be divided into small time frames. So all the requirements will be divided into small time frame. So each time frame is called as release or sprint. The same thing we are seeing, right? Sprint, release, iteration, or build. So we break the product into small incremental build. The same thing is written here, that requirements is divided into small time frame. We divide the task into small time frames, and this time frames we call it release, sprint, iteration, or build. There are four names for this. Then each release or each sprint or iteration is responsible to deliver a working product. The product that is going to be delivered should be a working product with some features, with some requirements, with some functionality, or with some task it should do. Okay, so this is what a brief information about agile model. We will understand it properly. We can understand this example. So you can see that we have a project where we are having, suppose, hundreds of requirements. Okay, we have hundreds of requirements, and then what do we do? These requirements or this task will divide in small time frames. Each time frame is sprint 1, sprint 2, sprint 3, sprint 4, and sprint 5. Sprint 3, 1, sprint 2, sprint 3, sprint 4, sprint 5, and like that there will be many sprints. And in each sprint there will be some requirements. Okay, requirement 1, requirement 2, requirement 3, requirement 4, requirement 5. Then again 5 more requirements will be there in sprint 2. So you see 5 requirements will be there in sprint 2. Like 5 requirements we have in sprint 1. The same way 5 requirements will be there in sprint 3. And like that we'll deliver, we'll add the features to our software in each and every release or in each and every sprint. So that's what we have discussed in our when we were discussing about what is agile model. So same thing we were discussing in that. So in agile what happens, uh, we will have some iterative and incremental, this is based on iterative and incremental process. So we can see that here it is iterative, that means it is repeating, and each iteration is called as release, and it is increasing the product features. In first iteration 5 features, then 5 more features, so now 10 features are there, then again 5 more features, so 15 features are there in product. So that way it works on this iterative and incremental process. And agile method breaks the product into small incremental builds. So we have seen that there are hundreds of requirements, and we have broken the product in small builds, small releases. And agile model works on rapid delivery of working software. So after each and every sprint, some working software will be delivered. So that means we are rapidly delivering at least some part of the project, some working software. And each release is responsible to deliver a working product. So after each release or after each sprint, some working product will be delivered to the client. So now let's see what are the process which are involved in a release or in a sprint. So this is one sprint, right? In one sprint or in one release, what all the are the process that generally we work on? So we can see in sprint 1 we are doing planning, requirement analysis, design, coding, and testing. So this is typically a SDLC model, software development life cycle. What do? We do plan, we do requirement analysis, design, coding, and testing. So in each sprint or in each sprint we do the same thing. So these are the 5 things that we do: planning, which is called sprint planning, requirement analysis, then design, then coding, and then testing. This is what we do. So sprint planning, what do? We'll plan all the requirements that we have to work on. Then we do requirement analysis. Then designing team will generate the workflows, and then coding team will do the coding for that, and then testing team will do testing for that particular feature in the software. That's what. These are the processes which are involved in each release and in a sprint. And there will be many sprints in agile model like this. So each sprint, now we know it is of 10 days or it is of 2 weeks. So after every release, one working software will come. So we are delivering a working software within 10 days or within 2 weeks of time in agile model, which is very fast as compared to V model. So we can see that 10 working days or 2 weeks of time is needed for one sprint to be completed. So and after each sprint, first working product will be released or will be launched, and this sprint is called iteration also. So in one iteration we are launching one product, that means we are launching our product in 10 days. And so every time in an iteration some requirements will be added, some features will be added, and then our working product will be launched, and working product will be launched. It in the first sprint, the first working model of first working product will be launched. Then in second version of model also we will have some added features. So our features will increase in our product. Then again third working model which will be in that again new features will be there. So every time what will happen, the features will get increased. In one iteration some feature, then in second iteration some more feature, then in third iteration some more features. So as the iteration is passing, the features are getting increased, and that is why we say that with each iteration the features are getting incremented. So we can say that each iteration is incremental in terms of features, and that's why we say that agile model is an incremental iterative approach. With each iteration the number of features increases in the software. So if we want to understand this thing, then we have to take one example, and with the help of this example it will be easy for us to understand agile model. Now let's take an example of e-commerce application where we have certain functionalities such as sign up, sign in, place order, select product, and many more such functionalities are there. All these functionalities are called requirements in business analyst language. So let's say we have 100 such requirements, and here is the list of all the requirements. Navigate to e-commerce website, check compatibility in Chrome browser, compatibility in Firefox browser, in Safari browser, check if you can create a registered account, check if you can sign with the account created, check the sign in is not allowed for wrong condition. So like this, we have some 100 requirements. So right now we don't have all the 100 requirements, we have only 63. But let's say we have some 100 requirements like this. Let's assume that we have some 100 requirements like this. Now in agile model what happens? We will have to break down all the requirements in small time frames. And in each small frames, we have to take some very high priority requirements. Okay. So we will take the very high priority requirements for the very first sprint or the very first release. So let's say we have 5 high priority requirements with which we are going to create our first working software. And let's say the 5 high priority requirements are: navigate to e-commerce website, compatibility in Chrome browser, create a registered account, sign in with the account created, and sign in is not allowed for the wrong credentials. Now we should keep one thing in mind, that our first working product that we are going to create is an MVP or not. MVP means a minimum viable product. And what is an MVP or what is a minimum viable product? A product which has minimum features so that we can launch it in production. If suppose we have some product, if we have a working software, but it is not an MVP, we have a first working software which has some minimum features, but if it is not an MVP, then we cannot launch that particular product in production. So we have to see that these 5 features are there in our product. Now our e-commerce website is an MVP or not? Now let me tell you that this is not an MVP. Okay, because any e-commerce website with above features will not be useful for the end user, because the end user will not be able to place order, because the place order functionality or place order feature is not there right now. Okay, so any e-commerce website is not useful if it does not allow us to place order. What we have to do now, we have to add some more features to our product. So we are going to add some more features in the next sprint or next release, and then we will check our software is an MVP or not, and then uh, we'll see. Now let's see what features are we going to add. So now we are going to add these products: search product, browse product, product list page, product details page, add to shopping bag, and then shopping bag feature. Then now let's see again our working software is an MVP or not, but now again it is not an MVP because the order creation functionality is still not available. So we have to add some more features to our software. And this time we are going to add checkout button, checkout page feature, shipping address and billing address, payment option, place order button, and then order confirmation page feature. So now order creation functionality is available. So our product is an MVP now. What will happen now? We can launch our product in production and we can make it available for the end user. So our first working software with MVP is ready after 3 sprints in Agile model. Each sprint is normally of 2 weeks, so it took around 6 weeks of time to launch our first working software with MVP. And this time is less than V model, and this is how Agile model works. Okay, so Agile model takes very less time in delivering the first working product to production. Now we have some points to remember in Agile model that there is no requirement document in Agile model. There is no high level design document in Agile model. There is no low level design in Agile model. There is no test plan document in Agile model. So when we read this statement, it looks like that there is no documentation required in Agile model, but that is not the case. We will need documentation, but the documentation work is very minimal in Agile model. What do we do for documentation part? We create a ticket. It could be a defect or a story or some ticket for each requirement. So one ticket for one requirement, one story for one requirement, or one ticket for one requirement. The test planning team will provide the planning inputs in the ticket. The business analyst team will analyze the requirement and then provide their inputs in the same ticket. Design team will provide their inputs based on the requirement analysis in the same ticket. Developers will start coding and then update the comments in the ticket. And then testers will test the ticket and provide the test results in the same ticket. So we can have everything like requirement, design inputs, test results in one ticket, and this is how the documentation work is minimized in Agile model. Now let's see the advantages of Agile model. What are the advantages of Agile model? It takes very less time to launch our first working software in the production environment if we use Agile model of SDLC. Communication gap is reduced because all the team members can communicate to each other. And cross-functional knowledge increases within the team. Like testers can get trained on requirement analysis or design or in development while working on the project. And very minimal documentation is required and a very little planning is required if we are using Agile as an SDLC. Now let's see the disadvantages of Agile model. Now, what are the disadvantages of Agile model? So as we say that all the team members should be a part of single team and then they all should work in the same time zone, then it's very difficult to achieve such a mechanism because business analysts could belong to United States and design team might belong to Europe, developer might be from China and testers might be from India. So it's very difficult for everyone to work in the same time zone. So the pure agile model cannot be achieved every time. Then agile model is suitable for a new project, but when we talk about a maintenance project, then it's difficult to achieve a pure agile model there. Third thing, a complex project where there is lots of dependency on different systems, and those systems are handled by different teams, then the agile model cannot be used. Now, let's see when should we use agile model. Now, when to use agile model? So, where should we use agile model, or when should we use agile model? Where requirement change frequently, in that case we should use agile model. Emphasis on more documentation is not there, so more documentation is not required where we should use. Where timelines are flexible, like launch date can be changed, and all the project members should work in the same team, then only agile model can be used, and they all should work in the same time zone, then only pure agile can be achieved. And client is ready to discuss anything at any point of time during working hours. So in that scenario, agile model can be used. Now let's see the summary of the session. So we have covered below topics in this session. Disadvantages of V model. What is agile model? Process involved in each release or sprint. Example to understand agile model. Points to remember. Advantages of agile model. Disadvantages of Agile Model and when to use Agile Model. Now, if you want to see the question for this session, the question is explain Agile process.